Gently close your eyes, breathe softly, and let your mind drift inward. Have you ever truly paused to wonder what happens in that silent, unseen space between a question being asked and an answer forming? What unseen symphony orchestrates the fleeting spark of an idea, the intricate tapestry of a memory, or the sudden warmth of a feeling? How, from the ceaseless electrochemical dance of billions of tiny cells, does something as intangible, as personal, and as profoundly real as a thought actually emerge? It's a mystery more ancient than philosophy, more complex than any galaxy, and yet it is happening within you right now. Hello there, and welcome to Sleepster, your cozy corner of curiosity, where the profound mysteries of the mind come with a side of serenity. Whether you're winding down after a long day, perhaps tucked under blankets with your phone propped against a pillow, its soft glow a familiar comfort, or simply letting your mind float gently toward sleep, easing its way into the quiet currents of the night, I'm so glad you're here. Tonight, we're setting our sights on the ultimate inner enigma, exploring the astonishing, silent alchemy of how thoughts are made. From the intricate firing of a single neuron to the grand orchestrated symphony of consciousness. This is the story of your mind's most fundamental creation, a marvel that defines your very perception of reality. Now I must confess, I do hope this video isn't too fascinating. After all, the goal is to help you drift off peacefully. But if you do find yourself wide-eyed at the wonder of the brain's ceaseless creativity, captivated by the intricate processes that forge your very being, well, at least you'll be wide-eyed and a little wiser. Before we delve into the hidden architecture of thought, I'd love to know, where in the world are you listening from tonight? What time is it where you are? Feel free to leave a comment and say hello. It's always such a joy to see this sleepy little community stretch across time zones and continents, a quiet constellation of curious minds connected by this shared space of contemplation. If you find comfort in videos like this, equal parts knowledge and calm, a gentle tap on the like button or a quiet subscribe helps more than you know. It's a small action that supports hours of research, writing, and a whole lot of softly whispered wonder, allowing this peaceful channel to reach more minds seeking serenity. And just before we begin, a quick reminder. While this video is full of intriguing science and captivating philosophical questions about the mind, it's not medical advice. If you're struggling with sleep regularly or with persistent thoughts that cause distress, it's always best to speak to a qualified professional. This video is here to relax, to ignite wonder, and to gently guide your mind, not to replace professional care. All right, let's settle in, take a breath, and begin our gentle journey into the heart of consciousness's greatest enigma. We're not seeking to definitively solve the entire mystery of thought tonight, but rather to serenely explore its many facets, from the fundamental electrical whispers to the grand, unified tapestries of our ideas, beliefs, and perceptions. Imagine a complex idea, the solution to a puzzle, the memory of a distant landscape, the feeling of profound empathy. How does such a seemingly intangible phenomenon manifest from the physical activity of your brain? What are the underlying mechanisms, the hidden processes, the secret alchemy that transforms biological activity into conscious experience? As we explore, allow your mind to drift through the currents of possibility, embracing the calm curiosity that comes with contemplating the profound and deeply personal unknown of your own inner universe. To truly embark on our profound journey into the genesis of thought, we must first gently grapple with a question that, at its surface, seems deceptively simple, yet upon deeper contemplation reveals itself to be one of the most elusive and challenging inquiries in all of science and philosophy. What exactly is a thought? Is it a fleeting electrical impulse, a precise chemical reaction, a complex pattern of neural firing, or something far grander, something emergent and irreducible, a subjective experience that transcends its physical components? For most of our waking lives, thoughts appear as a continuous, effortless stream, the very fabric of our inner monologue. Our decision-making, our perceptions, and our dreams. We think without thinking about how we think. Yet, when we try to pin down what a thought truly is, it slips through our conceptual fingers like smoke. From a purely scientific perspective, a thought is understood to be a product of the brain's activity complex, dynamic interplay of synchronized neuronal firing, chemical neurotransmission, and intricate network communication across vast regions of the brain. It's not a single isolated event, but a pattern, a chorus, a unique configuration of neural activity. However, from a philosophical viewpoint, a thought is a qualitative, subjective experience. A unit of consciousness, the what it's like of an idea, a feeling, or a perception, often accompanied by intentionality and meaning. This dual nature being both a physical brain event and a subjective mental experience is at the heart of the enduring mystery, often referred to as the mind-body problem. The challenge in defining a thought lies in its ephemeral and multifaceted nature. A thought can be a vivid memory, the scent of rain, a distant melody, the face of a loved one. It can be an abstract concept, justice, infinity, freedom. It can be a problem-solving strategy, the steps to fix a broken device, the path to navigating a complex challenge. It can be a creative spark, the inspiration for a poem, a new melody, a groundbreaking invention. It can be a raw emotional surge of joy, a pang of sorrow, a whisper of anxiety. Each of these manifests as a thought, yet their content, their neural pathways, and their subjective feeling are remarkably diverse. Furthermore, thoughts are constantly in flux. They arise, they combine, they transform, and they fade, part of a ceaseless, dynamic stream of consciousness. This fluid, nonlinear progression makes them incredibly difficult to isolate and dissect. Unlike a physical object that can be weighed, measured, or contained, a thought exists in a different dimension of reality, accessible only to the experiencer. Yet, despite this elusive nature, their impact is undeniably real, shaping our actions, our perceptions, and our entire subjective world. The very act of attempting to define a thought is itself a complex thought, highlighting the recursive nature of consciousness. From a neurological perspective, scientists often speak of thoughts as patterns of neural activity. It's not just one neuron firing. It's vast ensembles of neurons firing in specific sequences and synchronizations across distributed brain regions. When you recall a memory, different groups of neurons associated with the visual, auditory, and emotional components of that memory are activated simultaneously, creating a unified experience. When you formulate a complex idea, information flows through multiple processing centers, from sensory cortices to memory areas to the prefrontal cortex for abstract reasoning and planning. The timing of these activations, the strength of the synaptic connections between them, and the specific brain rhythms like alpha, beta, gamma waves associated with different cognitive states all contribute to the formation and experience of a thought. For example, a gamma wave oscillation might be associated with heightened conscious awareness and information binding, suggesting a synchronized rhythm underlying a complex thought. This view posits that the thought is the pattern of activity. It's an emergent property of the network's dynamic interactions, rather than something stored in a single location like a file in a folder. The sheer complexity and dynamic nature of these neural patterns underscore why a thought is more than just a single electrical impulse, but a vast symphony played by billions of tiny, interconnected musicians. Philosophically, the nature of thought has been a central question for millennia, leading to diverse and often conflicting viewpoints. Dualism, famously championed by René Descartes, proposes that the mind, including thoughts, is a non-physical entity, distinct from the physical brain. In this view, Thoughts belong to a separate mental substance that interacts with the brain, but is not reducible to it. This approach attempts to preserve the subjective, qualitative nature of thought that seems to defy purely physical explanation. In contrast, materialism or physicalism posits that thoughts are entirely products of the brain's physical processes. They are, in essence, what the brain does. In this view, consciousness and thoughts are emergent properties of complex neural activity, wholly dependent on the physical brain and reducible, in principle, to its physical operations. This approach seeks to explain all mental phenomena within a scientific framework. More recently, philosophies like functionalism argue that mental states, including thoughts, are defined by their functional role, what they do rather than their physical composition. In this view, a thought is like a software program running on the hardware of the brain. The same thought could theoretically be instantiated on different physical substrates, as long as the functional relations are preserved. This opens the door to ideas of artificial intelligence potentially having thoughts. The hard problem of consciousness, which asks why physical brain activity should give rise to subjective, felt experience at all, remains a profound challenge. To all these definitions, while we can describe the neural correlates of a thought, we still struggle to explain why it feels like something to have that thought. Why is the processing of light signals into the color red accompanied by the subjective experience of redness? This qualitative aspect, known as qualia, is often seen as the last bastion of the unexplained. The cosmic neuron hypothesis, which suggests our universe might be a brain cell, implicitly touches upon this problem. If the universe is a brain, then consciousness and thought are its very nature, and our thoughts are then nested within that larger thought. This shifts the hard problem from our individual brains to the entire cosmos, suggesting that mind might be fundamental to reality rather than a mere byproduct. It frames thoughts as inherent patterns of existence, echoing throughout the scales of being. Ultimately, whether defined as electrochemical patterns, subjective experiences, or functional states, thoughts are the dynamic, living expression of your innermost self interacting with the world. They are the intricate weave of your perceptions, memories, emotions, and intentions, constantly being created and recreated within the vast, silent theater of your brain. Every idea, every feeling, every decision, every dream is a unique, fleeting masterpiece of neural activity, testament to the astonishing capacity of the mind to transform physical energy into profound, meaningful experience. As we explore how these thoughts are made, we are essentially exploring the very essence of what it means to be a conscious, thinking being, unraveling the most intimate mystery of our own existence. It is a journey that promises not just scientific insight, but a deeper, more serene appreciation for the miracle of your own mind. Here is Section 5, The Neuron's Role, Electrical Whispers and Chemical Conversations. Meticulously expanded to meet your requirements for the Sleepster channel, crafted in the exact style of your reference script. Title: How Are Thoughts Made? Unraveling the Brain's Greatest Mystery. Sleepster Deep Dive 2 hours. Continuing from previous sections, ... closing parenthesis. Section 5. The Neuron's Role, Electrical Whispers and Chemical Conversations. Having gently begun our profound inquiry into the very essence of thought, grappling with its elusive nature and its manifestation as complex patterns of neural activity, we now turn our contemplative gaze to the fundamental, microscopic actors that orchestrate this grand inner symphony, the neurons themselves. These remarkable cells are the primary communicators, the tireless builders, and the very living architecture of every thought. Every memory, every sensation, and every dream that pulses through your mind. Imagine, if you will, billions of tiny, exquisite biological machines, each a miniature powerhouse of electrochemical energy, constantly engaged in a ceaseless, dynamic conversation, exchanging precise signals at lightning speeds. It is within the intricate dance of these individual neurons, their electrical whispers and chemical conversations, that the raw material of consciousness is forged, meticulously transformed from the physical realm into the rich, subjective tapestry of your inner world. Understanding their fundamental structure and how they communicate is the bedrock upon which any profound comprehension of thought must be built, revealing the astonishing ingenuity of nature's design. At the very heart of this microscopic marvel, each neuron, though specialized in its function, shares a common, elegant architecture. Its central command center is the soma, or cell body, a metabolic hub teeming with vital organelles, the mitochondria generating energy, the nucleus housing the genetic blueprint and the machinery for protein synthesis. But the soma is far more than a mere container. It is the neuron's primary integration point. It's a sophisticated computational node that constantly receives, sums, and weighs thousands of incoming signals from other neurons. These incoming signals arrive primarily via the neuron's branching, tree-like extensions known as dendrites. Imagine dendrites as the neuron's delicate antennae, constantly reaching out, adorned with myriad tiny protrusions called dendritic spines, each serving as a potential connection point. These spines are dynamic, capable of changing shape and number, reflecting the brain's incredible plasticity and ability to learn. Dendrites act as the neuron's primary receivers, picking up the subtle electrical and chemical whispers from the vast neural conversation happening around them, gathering information from thousands of diverse sources, much like a complex receiver collecting countless radio signals simultaneously. This constant influx of information, both excitatory go signals and inhibitory stop signals, bombards the soma, where it is meticulously integrated. If the sum of these incoming messages reaches a critical electrical threshold, specific voltage change across the neuron's membrane, the soma makes an instantaneous decision to fire its own message, initiating the neuron's most dramatic act, the generation of an action potential. This outbound message, the very essence of neural communication, is an action potential, a fleeting, precise burst of electrical energy that races down the neuron's single, elongated projection called the axon. Think of the axon as the neuron's primary transmission cable, a dedicated high-speed highway designed for rapid, long-distance information transfer. Axons vary immensely in length, from fractions of a millimeter for local processing within brain. Microcircuits, too, over a meter long, extending from your spinal cord all the way to the muscles in your toes, enabling rapid commands to reach distant limbs. The incredible speed of this electrical signal is often enhanced by a fatty, insulating sheath called myelin, which wraps around many axons like segments of a protective casing. Myelin, formed by specialized glial cells, acts much like the plastic coating around an electrical wire, preventing signal leakage and dramatically increasing the speed of conduction. It does this by forcing the electrical signal to jump from one exposed gap to the next. Along the axon, these gaps are called nodes of Ranvier, process known as saltatory conduction. This jumping mechanism allows action potentials to travel at blistering speeds up to 120 meters per second, over 260 miles per hour, ensuring that information can traverse vast neural distances in mere milliseconds. Without myelin, a simple thought or a single motor command would be agonizingly slow, underscoring its critical role in the rapid-fire, seamless communication that defines the nervous system's astonishing speed and functionality. The action potential itself is an alluring event. Once the threshold is met, it fires at its full strength, always. Its information is encoded not by its strength, but by its frequency and timing, a form of neural Morse code where the pattern of whispers conveys the message. The destination of this electrical whisper, the point where the signal is passed to another neuron, is the synapse, the truly magical and endlessly dynamic space where the electrochemical conversation takes place. The synapse is not a direct physical connection. Rather, it's a tiny, almost imperceptible gap, a microscopic chasm, typically about 20 to 40 nanometers wide, between the very end of the axon terminal of the transmitting neuron, the presynaptic neuron, and the receiving dendrite or cell body of another neuron, the postsynaptic neuron. When the powerful electrical action potential reaches the very end of the presynaptic axon terminal, it triggers a remarkable transformation. The electrical signal is momentarily converted into a chemical message. Tiny spherical sacs called vesicles, meticulously filled with specialized chemical messengers known as neurotransmitters, rapidly migrate to the very edge of the presynaptic neuron's membrane. They then fuse with the membrane, releasing their precious chemical cargo into the synaptic cleft, the minuscule void between the two cells. These neurotransmitters then, with astonishing precision and specificity, diffuse rapidly across this tiny gap, like tiny chemical whispers carried on an unseen current, and bind two highly specific receptor sites located on the membrane of the receiving postsynaptic neuron. This binding, akin to a unique key fitting perfectly into its equally unique lock, acts as a trigger, initiating a new electrical or chemical signal in the receiving neuron, thereby propagating the message onward in the vast neural chain or initiating a specific response in a target cell. This elegant conversion from electrical to chemical and back to electrical is what endows the nervous system with its incredible versatility, adaptability, and nuanced control, allowing for a richness of information transfer that pure electrical signals alone could not achieve. The intricate dance within the synapse involves two main types of effects on the postsynaptic neuron: excitatory and inhibitory. When an excitatory neurotransmitter binds to its receptor, it typically causes a small, temporary positive change in the postsynaptic neuron's membrane potential, bringing it closer to its firing threshold. These are called excitatory postsynaptic potentials, EPs. Imagine these as tiny go signals urging the neuron to become active. Conversely, when an inhibitory neurotransmitter binds, it typically causes a small, temporary negative change in the membrane potential, moving it further away from its firing threshold. These are inhibitory postsynaptic potentials, IPSPs, acting as stop or slowdown signals. The postsynaptic neuron is constantly bombarded by hundreds, even thousands, of these EPSPs and IPSPs simultaneously or in rapid succession, summing them up. It is this continuous, complex summation of incoming excitatory and inhibitory signals that accrues determines whether the neuron will reach its threshold and fire its own action potential. This exquisite balance between excitation and inhibition is crucial for shaping thought processes, ensuring precision in neural communication, preventing runaway excitation, and allowing the brain to filter out noise and focus on salient information. After binding, neurotransmitters are rapidly cleared from the synaptic cleft, either by enzymatic degradation, reuptake by the presynaptic neuron, or diffusion, ensuring that the signal is precise and transient, ready for the next electrochemical conversation. The vast diversity of neurotransmitters and their specific influences are what truly allow for the nuanced richness of our thoughts, emotions, and behaviors. They are the varied languages spoken within the brain, each conveying a distinct type of information and influencing different neural pathways. Glutamate is the primary excitatory neurotransmitter in the central nervous system, crucial for rapid signaling, learning, memory formation, and synaptic plasticity, particularly the process of long-term potentiation (LTP), which strengthens connections. Its activity is vital for the dynamic creation of new thought patterns. Conversely, GABA, gamma-aminobutyric acid, is the primary inhibitory neurotransmitter, acting as the brain's main calm-down signal. It balances the excitatory effects of glutamate, preventing overexcitation, reducing neural noise, and promoting a state of tranquility, crucial for clear thought and anxiety reduction. Acetylcholine plays vital roles in memory, attention, learning, and is the primary neurotransmitter at the neuromuscular junction, enabling voluntary muscle movement connecting thought to action. Dopamine, a powerful neuromodulator, is central to the brain's reward system, motivation, pleasure, and goal-directed behavior, influencing aspects of working memory, decision-making, and thought sequencing. Its dysregulation is implicated in conditions like Parkinson's and schizophrenia, profoundly affecting thought processes. Serotonin is widely renowned for its pervasive impact on mood regulation, promoting feelings of well-being, contentment, and calmness, while also influencing sleep cycles, appetite, and cognitive flexibility. Norepinephrine or noradrenaline is primarily involved in alertness, arousal, vigilance, and the fight-or-flight response, influencing attention and the focus of thought. These neurotransmitters, and many others, are not simply isolated chemicals. They form complex systems, interacting in intricate ways to shape the quality, content, and emotional tone of our thoughts, enabling the brain to perform its astonishing feats of cognition. Ultimately, it is this precise, ceaseless, and exquisitely choreographed dance between electrical whispers and chemical conversations that collectively gives rise to the elusive phenomenon of thought. No single neuron firing in isolation creates a thought. It is the collective firing pattern of vast ensembles of neurons, synchronized in specific sequences across distributed brain regions that constitutes a particular idea, memory, or feeling. These neurons don't simply connect randomly. They form intricate neural circuits, specialized pathways designed for specific functions, from visual processing circuits that interpret light into images, to memory circuits that encode and retrieve past experiences, to complex cognitive circuits that enable abstract reasoning and problem solving. This dynamic communication is often characterized by synchronized neural oscillations, or brainwaves like alpha, beta, gamma, theta, and delta. Waves which represent the rhythmic, synchronized firing of large groups of neurons. Different brainwave patterns are associated with different states of consciousness and types of thought. Gamma waves, for instance, are often linked to active conscious awareness and the binding of disparate information into a unified perception. These synchronized patterns, these vast neural choruses, are the thought in a fundamental sense. Furthermore, the brain's astonishing plasticity, its ability to continuously form new connections and strengthen or weaken existing ones, long-term potentiation and long-term depression, means that every new experience, every new piece of learning, and every new thought literally sculpts and reshapes the physical architecture of your brain at the synaptic level. This constant rewiring encodes memories, refines thought processes, and continuously adapts the brain to its ever-changing environment. This transformation of physical energy into profound, meaningful experience of electrochemical signals into the richness of our inner world remains a true miracle of biology. It is this intricate, functional process, occurring moment by moment, that allows our minds to generate the ceaseless stream of thoughts that define our existence, inviting the grand question of whether such processes could occur on a cosmic scale, building the thoughts of a universal mind. The intricate dance within the synapse involves two main types of effects on the postsynaptic neuron: excitatory and inhibitory. When an excitatory neurotransmitter binds to its receptor, it typically causes a small, temporary positive change in the postsynaptic neuron's membrane potential, bringing it closer to its firing threshold. These are called excitatory postsynaptic potentials, EPs. Imagine these as tiny go signals urging the neuron to become active. Conversely, when an inhibitory neurotransmitter binds, it typically causes a small, temporary negative change in the membrane potential, moving it further away from its firing threshold. These are inhibitory postsynaptic potentials, IPSPs, acting as stop or slow down signals. The postsynaptic neuron is constantly bombarded by hundreds, even thousands, of these EPSPs and IPSPs simultaneously or in rapid succession, summing them up. It is this continuous, complex summation of incoming, excitatory, and inhibitory signals that accrues determines whether the neuron will reach its threshold and fire its own action potential. This exquisite balance between excitation and inhibition is crucial for shaping thought processes, ensuring precision in neural communication, preventing runaway excitation, and allowing the brain to filter out noise and focus on salient information. After binding, neurotransmitters are rapidly cleared from the synaptic cleft, either by enzymatic degradation, reuptake by the presynaptic neuron, or diffusion, ensuring that the signal is precise and transient, ready for the next electrochemical conversation. The vast diversity of neurotransmitters and their specific influences are what truly allow for the nuanced richness of our thoughts, emotions, and behaviors. They are the varied languages spoken within the brain, each conveying a distinct type of information and influencing different neural pathways. Glutamate is the primary excitatory neurotransmitter in the central nervous system, crucial for rapid signaling, learning, memory formation, and synaptic plasticity, particularly the process of long-term potentiation (LTP), which strengthens connections. Its activity is vital for the dynamic creation of new thought patterns. Conversely, GABA, gamma-amino butyric acid, is the primary inhibitory neurotransmitter, acting as the brain's main calm-down signal. It balances the excitatory effects of glutamate, preventing overexcitation, reducing neural noise, and promoting a state of tranquility, crucial for clear thought and anxiety reduction. Acetylcholine plays vital roles in memory, attention, learning, and is the primary neurotransmitter at the neuromuscular junction, enabling voluntary muscle movement connecting thought to action. Dopamine, a powerful neuromodulator, is central to the brain's reward system, motivation, pleasure, and goal-directed behavior, influencing aspects of working memory, decision-making, and thought sequencing. Its dysregulation is implicated in conditions like Parkinson's and schizophrenia, profoundly affecting thought processes. Serotonin is widely renowned for its pervasive impact on mood regulation, promoting feelings of well-being, contentment, and calmness, while also influencing sleep cycles, appetite, and cognitive flexibility. Norepinephrine or noradrenaline is primarily involved in alertness, arousal, vigilance, and the fight-or-flight response, influencing attention and the focus of thought. These neurotransmitters, and many others, are not simply isolated chemicals. They form complex systems, interacting in intricate ways to shape the quality, content, and emotional tone of our thoughts, enabling the brain to perform its astonishing feats of cognition. Ultimately, it is this precise, ceaseless, and exquisitely choreographed dance between electrical whispers and chemical conversations that collectively gives rise to the elusive phenomenon of thought. No single neuron firing in isolation creates a thought. It is the collective firing pattern of vast ensembles of neurons, synchronized in specific sequences across distributed brain regions, that constitutes a particular idea, memory, or feeling. These neurons don't simply connect randomly. They form intricate neural circuits, specialized pathways designed for specific functions, from visual processing circuits that interpret light into images, to memory circuits that encode and retrieve past experiences, to complex cognitive circuits that enable abstract reasoning and problem solving. This dynamic communication is often characterized by synchronized neural oscillations, or brainwaves like alpha, beta, gamma, theta, and delta. Waves which represent the rhythmic, synchronized firing of large groups of neurons. Different brainwave patterns are associated with different states of consciousness and types of thought. Gamma waves, for instance, are often linked to active conscious awareness and the binding of disparate information into a unified perception. These synchronized patterns, these vast neural choruses, are the thought in a fundamental sense. Furthermore, the brain's astonishing plasticity, its ability to continuously form new connections and strengthen or weaken existing ones, long-term potentiation and long-term depression, means that every new experience, every new piece of learning, and every new thought literally sculpts and reshapes the physical architecture of your brain at the synaptic level. This constant rewiring encodes memories, refines thought processes, and continuously adapts the brain to its ever-changing environment. This transformation of physical energy into profound, meaningful experience of electrochemical signals into the richness of our inner world remains a true miracle of biology. It is this intricate, functional process, occurring moment by moment, that allows our minds to generate the ceaseless stream of thoughts that define our existence, inviting the grand question of whether such processes could occur on a cosmic scale, building the thoughts of a universal mind. Having gently journeyed into the microscopic world of individual neurons, those tirelessly communicating fundamental units of our brain, understanding their intricate electrical whispers and chemical conversations, we now expand our contemplative gaze. We move beyond the single cell to explore how these countless billions of neurons do not operate in isolation, but rather connect, interact, synchronize to form vast, intricate neural networks and circuits, the very architecture where thoughts truly coalesce, where perceptions are unified, and where consciousness finds its profound expression. Imagine, if you will, a bustling, dynamic metropolis, not of static buildings and fixed roads, but of constantly shifting pathways, ephemeral connections, and ceaseless, synchronized activity, all collaborating to generate the rich, vibrant tapestry of your inner world. This section invites us to calmly explore the astonishing principles governing the organization of these neural networks, understanding how their intricate design and dynamic properties allow for the emergence of complex cognition, transforming individual signals into the unified, meaningful experience of thought, revealing the astonishing ingenuity of the brain's self-organizing masterpiece. The leap from the individual neuron to a functioning thought requires understanding how these cells form enduring, modifiable connections, a process governed by synaptic plasticity. While we previously touched upon the synapse as the point of communication, its true marvel lies in its ability to change its strength and efficiency in response to activity. The fundamental principle, often summarized as neurons that fire together, wire together, describes a phenomenon known as long-term potentiation, LTP. This involves a persistent strengthening of synaptic connections when presynaptic and postsynaptic neurons are repeatedly and synchronously activated. Imagine a well-trodden path in a forest. The more often you walk it, the clearer and easier it becomes to traverse. Similarly, when certain neurons communicate frequently, the synaptic connection between them becomes more efficient, making it easier for subsequent signals to pass. Conversely, long-term depression, LTD, involves the weakening of synaptic connections, often in response to prolonged low-frequency stimulation, helping to prune unnecessary connections and refine neural circuits. This continuous process of strengthening and weakening synapses is the biological bedrock of all learning and memory, ensuring that new thoughts can be encoded and old ones refined. It allows the brain to adapt, to learn from experience, and to continuously reshape its architecture based on the flow of information. The specific changes at the synapse, from altered receptor numbers to changes in neurotransmitter release, are the physical manifestation of learning, allowing fleeting experiences to leave lasting marks on the very structure of the brain. Individual neurons, with their remarkable capacity for plasticity, are organized into functional units known as neural circuits or neural pools. These are Specific, recurring patterns of neuronal connections that perform particular information processing tasks. Think of them as specialized teams within the brain's vast workforce. Some circuits are convergent, where many neurons send signals to a single postsynaptic neuron, allowing for the integration of diverse inputs. This is crucial for decision-making, where multiple pieces of information must be weighed to reach a conclusion. Other circuits are divergent, where a single neuron sends its signal to many other neurons, allowing for a broad broadcast of information vital for alerting large brain areas to a significant event. Reverberating circuits involve feedback loops, where neurons in the circuit send signals back to earlier neurons in the same circuit, allowing for sustained activity crucial for short-term memory, attention, and the persistence of thought. Beyond these basic patterns, neural circuits are interwoven with intricate feed-forward and feedback loops. Feed-forward loops transmit information in one direction, while feedback loops allow the output of a circuit to influence its own input, enabling self-correction, regulation, and reinforcement. This complex, multi-layered organization ensures that information is not just transmitted, but processed, refined, and used to generate coherent, adaptive thoughts and behaviors, forming the very architecture of cognition. The overall organization of the brain's neural networks exhibits sophisticated properties and principles that optimize information processing. One key principle is modularity, where different regions of the brain are specialized for specific functions. For instance, the visual cortex processes visual information, the auditory cortex handles sounds, and the motor cortex controls movement. This allows for efficient parallel processing, with different tasks being handled simultaneously by dedicated modules. However, these modules are not isolated. They are highly interconnected, leading to the principle of integration. Information from various specialized modules is seamlessly combined and synthesized into a unified, coherent conscious experience. This addresses the binding problem, how the brain unifies disparate sensory inputs, for example, the color, shape, motion, and sound of a bird in flight into a single, unified perception. The brain also exhibits a hierarchical organization, where information processing moves from lower-level, basic sensory input, for example, individual lines and edges in the visual cortex, to higher-level, more abstract thought and recognition, for example, identifying a face or understanding a complex concept in the prefrontal cortex. This hierarchical processing allows for increasing levels of abstraction and complexity in thought. Furthermore, the brain's networks exhibit parallel processing, meaning they can handle multiple streams of information simultaneously, allowing for the rapid, efficient multitasking that defines human cognition. Delving deeper into the topology of these networks, researchers have discovered that the brain operates as a small world network. This means that despite the vast number of neurons and their apparent complexity, any two neurons in the network can be connected by a relatively short number of synaptic steps. This small world property is vital for efficient communication and rapid information transfer across distant brain regions, allowing for swift integration of diverse inputs into a coherent thought or response. It ensures that no single part of the brain is too isolated, facilitating global communication necessary for consciousness. Coupled with this, the brain's networks are also considered scale-free networks, characterized by the presence of hub neurons or hub brain regions that possess an exceptionally large number of connections compared to most other nodes. These hubs are critical for the network's robustness and efficient information flow. Even if many less connected neurons are damaged, the highly connected hubs can maintain overall network integrity. This inherent robustness ensures that thought processes can persist even with some degree of neural loss or damage, highlighting the built-in resilience of the brain's architecture. These mathematical and topological properties underscore how the brain's physical structure is optimally designed for complex, rapid, and resilient information processing. forming the very foundation upon which conscious thought is built. Beyond the microscopic circuits, the brain's architecture extends to larger, functionally specialized regions, each contributing uniquely to the symphony of cognition. The cerebral cortex, the wrinkled outer layer of the brain, is often considered the thinking cap and the seat of higher cognitive functions. It is divided into four main lobes. The frontal lobe, responsible for executive functions like planning, decision-making, problem-solving, personality, and abstract thought. The parietal lobe, integrating sensory information from various sources, spatial awareness, and navigation. The temporal lobe, crucial for auditory processing, memory formation, housing the hippocampus, and language comprehension. And the occipital lobe, primarily dedicated to visual processing. The extensive folding of the cerebral cortex into gyri ridges and sulci grooves dramatically increases its surface area, allowing more neurons to be packed into the limited cranial space, enhancing its computational power. Beneath the cortex, various subcortical structures play vital roles. The thalamus acts as a crucial sensory relay station, filtering and directing almost all sensory information except smell to the appropriate cortical areas for further processing, ensuring that only salient data contributes to conscious thought. The basal ganglia are essential for motor control, habit formation, and reward-based learning, influencing how thoughts translate into action and how cognitive routines are established. The cerebellum, while primarily known for fine motor control and balance, is increasingly recognized for its subtle yet significant roles in cognition, including language processing, attention, emotional regulation, and even the precise timing of thoughts. The limbic system, an ancient network including the amygdala and hippocampus, provides the emotional context and memory encoding that imbue thoughts with personal meaning and emotional resonance. All these diverse regions are interconnected by vast networks of white matter tracks high-speed communication, highways that allow information to flow seamlessly across distant brain areas. These tracks, including association fibers connecting areas within a hemisphere, commissural fibers like the corpus callosum connecting the two hemispheres, and projection fibers connecting the cortex to lower brain regions and the spinal cord, ensure global integration, allowing the specialized modules to contribute to a unified stream of consciousness. The very rhythm of thought is often manifested through neural oscillations or brainwaves, the synchronized firing of vast populations of neurons. These rhythmic patterns, detectable by electroencephalography (EEG), are associated with different cognitive states and types of thought. Delta waves 0.5 to 4 Hz are characteristic of deep, dreamless sleep, reflecting highly synchronized SLOW neural activity associated with restorative processes and the deepest stages of rest. Theta waves 4 to 8 Hz are prominent during drowsiness, light sleep, and states of deep relaxation or meditation, and are associated with memory formation and intuition. Alpha waves 8 to 13 Hz typically appear when the mind is relaxed but awake, such as during quiet contemplation or when the eyes are closed, indicating a state of calm alertness. Beta waves 13 to 30 Hz dominate during active, alert states, conscious thought, problem-solving, and focused attention, reflecting active cortical processing. Gamma waves 30 to 100 Hz are the fastest oscillations, associated with higher-level cognitive functions, sensory binding, attention, and conscious perception, believed to be crucial for integrating disparate pieces of information into a unified conscious experience. These synchronized oscillations are not just byproducts of thought. They are believed to be instrumental in coordinating neural activity across distant brain regions, facilitating information binding, attention allocation, memory retrieval, and the coherence of thought itself. They are the underlying rhythm of cognition, allowing the complex architecture of the brain to give rise to a unified, conscious mind. Ultimately, it is from this intricate, dynamic interplay of individual neurons organized into specialized circuits, communicating through electrical whispers and chemical conversations, synchronized by rhythmic oscillations across vast, interconnected networks, that the miracle of cognition emerges. Complex thoughts, vivid perceptions, nuanced decisions, and profound memories are not preformed entities. They emerge from the synchronized collaborative activity of these vast, self-organizing neural networks. The binding problem: how seemingly disparate neural activities, e.g., the visual processing of a shape, the auditory processing of a sound, the emotional response to a memory, coalesce into a single, unified conscious experience, is a profound testament to this emergent property of the brain's architecture. This intricate network is not static. It is a dynamic, living architecture, constantly reshaping itself through neuroplasticity in response to every new experience. The cosmic neuron hypothesis, which posits our universe might be a brain cell, implicitly asks if the same principles of network formation, information flow, and emergent complexity can lead to higher forms of consciousness at the grandest scales of existence. It suggests that just as our thoughts are patterns within our neural networks, perhaps cosmic thoughts are patterns within the cosmic web, highlighting the profound beauty of this self-organizing complexity where universal principles give rise to mind, whether in a tiny biological organ or across the boundless cosmos. Having gently journeyed into the astonishing microcosm of neurons and explored how these fundamental cells, through their intricate electrical whispers and chemical conversations, form the very architectural networks where thoughts begin to coalesce, we now turn our contemplative gaze outward, yet simultaneously inward. We delve into the crucial initial stage of thought formation, how our incredible nervous system processes sensory input and transforms it into coherent, meaningful perception, thereby actively building our inner world. It is a common, almost automatic assumption that our senses, like our eyes, ears, skin, nose, and tongue, act like simple, passive recording devices, faithfully capturing the external world as it is and transmitting a direct, unedited feed of information to our brains. However, the truth is far more nuanced, far more astonishing, and profoundly more creative. Your nervous system does not merely receive raw data. Instead, it actively engages in a continuous, incredibly sophisticated process of filtering, organizing, interpreting, and ultimately, constructing the rich, subjective reality that you consciously experience. This ongoing construction is so seamless and automatic that we rarely pause to consider the immense, tireless amount of neural processing that underlies every single perception, every vivid sight, every resonant sound, every intricate touch, every subtle taste, every evocative scent, and even our constant, intuitive sense of balance and our precise awareness of our own body in space. Understanding this active, creative role of the nervous system in perpetually shaping our reality offers a deeper, more serene appreciation for the intricate dance between the vast, objective external world and our unique, internal, neural representation of it, revealing how our inner world is not just observed, but constantly, subtly generated. To truly grasp this creative act of perception, it is crucial to distinguish between sensation and perception itself. Sensation refers to the raw input, the initial physical process where our sensory organs detect external physical energy or chemical presence. This involves the fundamental process of transduction, where physical energy from the environment, like light waves, sound waves, pressure, temperature, or chemical molecules, is converted into electrochemical signals. These electrochemical signals are the very language of the nervous system. These signals are then transmitted to the brain. Sensation is, in essence, the objective detection of stimuli. For example, when light waves strike your retina, that is a sensation. However, perception is the subsequent, infinitely more complex, subjective process by which the brain organizes, interprets, and makes sense of these raw sensory inputs, transforming them into meaningful experiences. Perception is subjective. unique to each individual's brain, and is where raw data becomes the conscious experience of seeing a specific color, hearing a familiar melody, or feeling the warmth of a comforting touch. It is the bridge between the physical world and our conscious inner world. The moment data is imbued with meaning and becomes part of a thought, let us delve into the intricate dance of our traditional senses, each a marvel of transduction and interpretation. Our sense of vision, perhaps the most dominant in our waking lives, begins its journey as light waves enter the eye, passing through the cornea and lens and striking the retina at the back of the eye. Here, specialized photoreceptor cells called rods for dim light and peripheral vision, and cones for bright light and color vision, perform the initial transduction, converting light energy into electrochemical signals. These signals are then processed through several layers of neurons within the retina before being transmitted along the optic nerve to the visual cortex located at the very back of the brain in the occipital lobe. But the brain does not just passively register these electrical signals. Instead, it actively and continuously engages in a complex process of interpretation and construction. It meticulously pieces together information about edges, contours, shapes, movement, depth, and color, synthesizing raw data into a coherent visual scene. Our brain is astonishingly adept at pattern recognition, identifying familiar faces or objects, even from incomplete information. It performs feats like color constancy, allowing us to perceive an object's color as consistent despite changes in lighting conditions and depth perception, using subtle cues from our two eyes called binocular cues and various monocular cues like perspective, texture gradients, and relative size to create a three-dimensional understanding of space. Optical illusions beautifully demonstrate this active construction, revealing how our brains can be tricked into perceiving things that are not actually there, or misinterpreting spatial relationships based on ambiguous visual cues. The brain actively fills in blind spots, which are areas where the optic nerve leaves the eye and lacks photoreceptors, creating a seamless visual field without us ever noticing the gap. This tireless creative act ensures that we perceive a stable, meaningful, and continuous visual world from the constant, shifting flux of light hitting our retinas, allowing us to navigate our environment with clarity and understanding. Similarly, the sense of audition or hearing is far more than just the passive reception of sound waves reaching our ears. When sound waves, which are mechanical vibrations, travel through the air and enter the ear canal, they cause the eardrum to vibrate. These vibrations are then transmitted through tiny bones in the middle ear to the fluid-filled cochlea in the inner ear. Within the cochlea, specialized hair cells, incredibly delicate mechanoreceptors, perform the transduction, converting these mechanical vibrations into electrical signals. These signals then travel along the auditory nerve to the auditory cortex in the temporal lobe of the brain. Here, the brain does not just passively register the frequencies and amplitudes of these waves. It actively interprets them, distinguishing between different sounds, identifying their sources, and parsing incredibly complex auditory scenes. Our brain is remarkably skilled at filtering out irrelevant noise, allowing us to focus on a specific conversation in a crowded environment, a phenomenon famously known as the cocktail party effect. It also uses subtle differences in the timing and intensity of sound, reaching our two ears to precisely determine the location of a sound source. In three-dimensional space, crucial for navigating our surroundings and staying aware of potential sounds of interest or concern. Furthermore, our past experiences, expectations, and emotional context play a significant role in how we perceive sounds. A familiar melody can evoke strong emotions and vivid memories, while a sudden, unexpected noise can trigger a primal fear response, illustrating the brain's active role in imbuing auditory information with rich meaning and personal context, transforming simple vibrations into the symphonies of our lives. the intricate sense of touch or somotosensation, which encompasses not just pressure, but also temperature, pain, vibration, and texture, provides us with a constant, vital stream of information about our physical interaction with the world. Specialized mechanoreceptors embedded in our skin detect pressure and vibration. Thermoreceptors respond to heat and cold. And nociceptors specifically signal potential or actual tissue damage, which we perceive as pain. These various receptors convert physical stimuli into electrical signals that travel along sensory nerves to the somatosensory cortex in the parietal lobe of the brain. Here, the brain creates a detailed and precise topographical map of our body, known as the sensory homunculus, allowing us to pinpoint the exact location, intensity, and quality of touch sensations. Remarkably, our perception of touch is also highly adaptable. We quickly habituate to constant, unchanging stimuli, like the feeling of our clothes on our skin or the pressure of a chair, allowing our attention to remain free for new or more salient tactile information. Our brain also seamlessly integrates tactile information with other sensory cues, such as visual input, to create a richer and more complete perception of objects and our interaction with them. The way we perceive texture, for example, is influenced not only by the activation of mechanoreceptors, but also by our visual expectations and prior experiences with similar objects, showcasing the brain's constant process of integration and interpretation, constructing a coherent physical world through touch. Similarly, the chemical senses of smell or olfaction and taste or gustation, while often perceived as less dominant than sight or hearing in our waking awareness, play a profoundly crucial and often deeply emotional role in shaping our experience of the world. Olfactory receptors in our nasal cavity, millions of them, detect specific airborne molecules called odorants, and gustatory receptors, or taste buds, on our tongue respond to dissolved chemical molecules. These receptors send signals directly to the olfactory bulb and the gustatory cortex in the brain, respectively. However, our conscious perception of flavor is not simply a combination of taste and smell. It is a complex, multisensory integration of these chemical senses with textural information from touch receptors in the mouth, temperature, and even visual cues like the appearance of food. The brain actively combines these different sensory inputs to create the rich, nuanced, and varied experience of flavor that we associate with different foods, a process that happens in areas like the orbitofrontal cortex. Furthermore, our sense of smell is particularly powerful in evoking vivid memories and strong emotions, bypassing many cortical processing stages to directly connect with the limbic system, amygdala, and hippocampus, creating a direct, often profound, link between specific sense and our past experiences, triggering a rush of nostalgia or specific feelings. This direct emotional link highlights the brain's constant quest to imbue all sensory information with meaning and personal context. Beyond these 5 traditional senses, our nervous system continuously monitors and processes a wealth of other sensory information crucial for building our inner world. Proprioception is our intuitive sense of our body's position and movement in space, even without looking. Receptors in our muscles, tendons, and joints constantly feed information to the brain about the stretch and tension of our limbs, allowing us to perform complex motor actions without consciously monitoring the position of each joint. The vestibular sense, located in our inner ear, detects changes in head movement, gravity, and orientation, providing crucial input for maintaining balance and coordinating eye movements. And interoception is our ability to perceive the internal state of our own body. Signals from our organs, muscles, and chemical levels, contributing to feelings like hunger, thirst, pain, and subtle emotional states. All these diverse sensory inputs are not processed in isolation. They are continuously woven together by the brain in a process called multisensory integration, creating a unified, seamless, and coherent conscious experience of being present in a three-dimensional world. The brain constantly cross-references inputs, enhancing the clarity and richness of our perception, ensuring that our inner world is a unified, harmonious whole. In essence, our nervous system acts not as a passive receiver, but as a highly active, sophisticated interpreter and tireless constructor, continuously building our subjective reality from a constant barrage of sensory information. It meticulously filters out what is deemed irrelevant, amplifies what is considered important, fills in missing information based on prior experiences and expectations, and seamlessly integrates information from multiple senses to create a coherent and meaningful representation of the world around us. This active construction is so fundamental to our experience that we rarely question its accuracy. Yet it is beautifully demonstrated through phenomena like optical illusions, where the brain's interpretation of ambiguous visual data leads to a perception that differs from objective reality, or in auditory illusions, where our brain creates sounds that are not there. Hallucinations, more dramatically, are instances where the brain generates perceptions without any external sensory input, further proving its capacity for internal world building. This inherent creativity means that what we perceive as reality is, in many ways, the brain's best guess, its most plausible model, its continuous masterpiece of interpretation. This profound realization that our inner world is a constant, magnificent creation of our own nervous system invites a serene appreciation for the miracle of our own perception. If our individual brains are such powerful architects of subjective reality, what grander reality might a universe-sized brain cell be perpetually building for itself through its own cosmic perceptions? This thought adds another layer of wonder to the very essence of how thoughts are made, extending the process of inner world building to the ultimate boundless scale. Having gently delved into the profound mechanisms of sensory input and perception, understanding how our brain actively constructs the very fabric of our inner world from the ceaseless barrage of external stimuli, we now turn our contemplative gaze to an equally vital and profoundly dynamic aspect of thought formation: the astonishing capabilities of memory and learning. These are not merely passive storage bins for past experiences. Rather, they represent the brain's vibrant, continuously evolving, living archive, a ceaseless process by which new knowledge, behaviors, and skills are acquired, and existing ones are modified, refined, and woven into the very fabric of our being. Imagine your mind not as a static library of finished books, but as an immense, ever-expanding, and self-organizing digital repository, where new information is constantly encoded, meticulously cataloged, and dynamically retrieved, shaping every subsequent thought, decision, and perception. It is within this intricate, lifelong dance of remembering and learning that the richness of our individuality is forged, allowing us to adapt, to grow, and to navigate the complexities of existence with increasing wisdom and grace. At its core, the intricate process of memory formation and utilization typically unfolds through a series of distinct yet seamlessly interconnected stages: encoding, storage, and retrieval. Encoding is the crucial initial process, the very gateway to memory, by which raw incoming sensory information and new experiences are transformed into a specific electrochemical or biological format that the brain can effectively comprehend, process, and ultimately store. This is far from a simple, passive input of data. It is an active, selective process involving focused attention, initial sensory perception, and a preliminary stage of neural processing. Think of absorbing new knowledge, perhaps learning a complex scientific concept or a new melody. Your brain actively encodes its visual patterns, its auditory rhythms, and its conceptual meaning. The depth and elaborateness of this initial processing significantly impacts How well and how durably the memory will ultimately be retained in the long term. Information that is deeply processed, perhaps linked to existing knowledge or imbued with emotional significance, is encoded more robustly than superficial details. Once successfully encoded, the newly processed information moves into the stage of storage, where it is actively maintained and consolidated over periods ranging from brief moments to an entire lifetime. It is vital to understand that this storage is not merely a single centralized memory bank within the brain like a hard drive. Instead, memories are wonderfully decentralized and distributed across vast, interconnected networks of neurons in various brain regions with different aspects of a memory. For example, its visual components, its auditory elements, its emotional resonance, its spatial context potentially being stored in different yet constantly communicating areas of the brain. The strength and persistence of these distributed neural connections, specifically the synapses, are dynamically modified during this storage phase, a crucial process known as consolidation, which often occurs and is enhanced during periods of TZ. AGHO is a sleep, helping to stabilize memories and make them more resilient to forgetting. Finally, retrieval is the dynamic process of accessing stored information when it is needed, bringing it back into conscious awareness or utilizing it implicitly. This could involve effortlessly recalling a specific personal event, accessing a vast trove of general factual knowledge, or performing a learned skill. Retrieval can manifest as recall, for example, answering a question from memory without cues or recognition, for example, identifying a familiar face in a crowd. It is crucial to remember that retrieval is not a simple playback of a perfect recording. It is an active, often reconstructive process that can be influenced by current context, emotions, and even subtle suggestions, underscoring the dynamic, living nature of our memory. Within this boundless living archive, memories manifest in diverse forms, each serving unique and vital purposes in our daily functioning, shaping our thoughts and behaviors in distinct ways. At the fleeting front lines of memory lies sensory memory, the briefest form of memory storage. This system holds raw sensory information, visual iconic memory, and auditory echoic memory for mere milliseconds to a few seconds after the stimulus has ceased. Its purpose is to provide a brief buffer, a fleeting snapshot of the sensory world, allowing the brain a short window of time to select and process what is truly important for further attention and encoding. From sensory memory, information that captures our attention can be transferred to short-term memory (STM), often more precisely referred to as working memory (WM). This is your brain's temporary active workbench, a crucial mental workspace. It holds a small, manageable amount of information, typically around 7 plus or minus 2 items for a brief period, usually 15 to 30 seconds, unless actively rehearsed or manipulated. Working memory is vital for active thought, complex reasoning, problem-solving, and decision-making, as it allows you to hold and manipulate information concurrently. It has multiple components, including a phonological loop for auditory information, a visuospatial sketchpad for visual and spatial information, and a central executive that directs attention and manages these subsystems, all collaborating to enable continuous conscious thought and processing for more enduring and robust recollections. Information is transferred from working memory to long-term memory (LTM), which possesses an astonishingly vast, seemingly limitless capacity, and is capable of holding information for extended periods, ranging from several minutes to an entire lifetime. Long-term memory itself is broadly divided into two major categories: explicit or declarative memory and implicit or non-declarative memory. Explicit memory refers to conscious, intentional recollections of facts, events, and concepts information that can be verbally described or declared. This category encompasses two primary types: episodic memory, which store specific personal experiences and events. Complete with their rich contextual details, the what, where, and when. This allows for mental time travel, reliving moments like your first time seeing a particular landscape or a cherished family gathering. It is the narrative of your life and semantic memory, which stores general knowledge, factual information, concepts and meanings about the world divorced from specific personal experiences. This includes knowing scientific facts, historical dates, or the meaning of words. These explicit memories form the conscious content of many of our thoughts, allowing us to reflect on our past and build upon accumulated knowledge. In stark contrast, implicit or non-declarative memory operates largely outside the realm of conscious awareness. Yet, it profoundly influences our behavior, skills, automatic responses without us necessarily realizing its influence or being able to verbally declare it. This crucial category encompasses several distinct forms. Procedural memory, which governs the acquisition and automatic execution of motor skills and ingrained habits like effortlessly riding a bicycle. Typing fluently on a keyboard, playing a musical instrument, or tying your shoelaces. Once learned, these actions become almost automatic, guided by a network of deeply ingrained neural pathways in the cerebellum and basal ganglia. It also includes priming, where previous exposure to one stimulus subtly influences the response to a subsequent stimulus without conscious guidance. For example, seeing the word doctor might make you faster to recognize the word nurse. And various forms of conditioning, where learned associations are formed through repeated pairings of stimuli, classical conditioning, or consequences of behavior operant conditioning, shaping our automatic reactions and emotional responses. These implicit memories powerfully demonstrate the nervous system's incredible, often subconscious, ability to learn, adapt, and predict, shaping our reactions and behaviors in ways we may not explicitly recognize, forming the fundamental bedrock of our habits, reflexes, and automatic responses, thereby allowing us to navigate the world efficiently and gracefully without constant, deliberate thought. The subtle and continuous interplay between these different memory systems, from fleeting sensory impressions to lifelong skills and deep personal narratives, allows us to learn continuously, adapt fluidly, and build a rich, cohesive, and remarkably continuous perception of our lives and contribute to the very making of our thoughts. The astonishing capacity for memory and learning is not merely a static feature. It is underpinned by a truly revolutionary and lifelong principle of the nervous system: neuroplasticity. This is the brain's remarkable and continuous ability to physically change, adapt, and reorganize its structure and function in response to new experiences, ongoing learning, or even in the wake of injury. For a significant period in scientific history, it was widely believed that the adult brain was a largely fixed, hardwired organ with limited capacity for change or adaptation beyond a certain critical age in childhood. However, groundbreaking contemporary research has irrevocably shattered this misconception, unequivocally revealing a nervous system that is profoundly dynamic, continuously reshaping its neural connections, forming entirely new synapses, strengthening existing ones through repeated use. The neurons that fire together, wire together principle, pruning unused or inefficient pathways, and even, in some specific regions like the hippocampus, generating brand new neurons, a process known as neurogenesis throughout the entire lifespan. Every single time you learn a new skill, whether it's mastering a complex scientific concept, acquiring fluency in a new language, or developing expertise in a particular craft, the very physical structure and functional organization of your brain subtly yet profoundly changes. This continuous dynamic rewiring is the fundamental biological engine of all learning. Every memory formation and the remarkable capacity for recovery from neurological damage It allows the brain to adapt to novel information, recover from injury, and endlessly refine its functions. Neuroplasticity is not confined to one isolated area. It is a pervasive, fundamental property evident across various levels of the nervous system, from microscopic synaptic changes to large-scale cortical reorganization. At the most fundamental synaptic level, long-term potentiation (LTP) is a persistent, long-lasting strengthening of synaptic efficacy based on recent patterns of intense activity. It is widely considered a key cellular and molecular mechanism underlying the processes of learning and memory in the brain. When presynaptic and postsynaptic neurons are repeatedly and synchronously activated, the connection or synapse between them becomes significantly more efficient and robust, making it easier for them to communicate in the future, thereby cementing a memory. Conversely, long-term depression (LTD) involves the weakening of synaptic connections, often in response to prolonged low-frequency stimulation, a process crucial for clearing old memories, pruning inefficient pathways, and making room for new learning. On a grander, more macroscopic scale, entire brain regions can profoundly reorganize themselves. For instance, in individuals who learn highly specialized skills like playing a musical instrument, the cortical areas representing the fingers used for that instrument can expand. Similarly, in response to sensory loss, the brain areas formerly dedicated to processing input from a lost sense might be remarkably repurposed to process input from other intact senses or even phantom sensations, demonstrating an incredible capacity for adaptive reorganization. This profound, lifelong adaptability ensures that the nervous system remains a dynamic, learning and continuously evolving entity throughout your entire lifespan, tirelessly refining its connections, expanding its capabilities, and adapting to every new challenge and experience you encounter, forming the living archive of your thoughts. The profound interplay between memory and learning fundamentally shapes and defines the very thoughts we are capable of having. Our thoughts are not generated in a vacuum. They are continuously built from the vast reservoir of stored knowledge, past experiences, and learned patterns that reside in our memory. Creativity, for instance, often arises from the brain's remarkable ability to recombine seemingly unrelated pieces of stored information and past memories into novel configurations, leading to new ideas and insights. Problem solving relies heavily on retrieving learned strategies, applying past solutions to new challenges, and adapting existing knowledge to novel situations. Even our basic perceptions are profoundly influenced by memory and expectation, as the brain uses top-down processing to interpret ambiguous sensory input based on what it has learned and experienced in the past. The continuous refinement of our thought processes, our ability to think more clearly, more efficiently, and more deeply, is a direct consequence of the brain's ceaseless learning and memory formation. As you peacefully drift into the restorative embrace of sleep, your brain is not merely resting. It is diligently working through the day's new information, meticulously consolidating memories, pruning unnecessary or weak connections to optimize efficiency, and strengthening vital pathways. All of this is part of its ceaseless, quiet, and profoundly intelligent efforts to maintain and expand your living archive, ensuring that the wisdom you gain each day is carefully cataloged and integrated into the vast, ever-expanding narrative of yourself and the thoughts you generate. Having gently journeyed into the profound mechanisms of sensory input and perception, and explored the brain's astonishing capacity for memory and learning, understanding how it builds our inner world and stores its vast archive, we now turn our contemplative gaze to a profoundly dynamic, often overwhelming, yet utterly essential aspect of thought formation: the pervasive and transformative influence of emotion. Emotions, joy, sorrow, fear, love, anger, contentment, curiosity, awe, not merely abstract states of mind that passively accompany our thoughts. Instead, they are vibrant, intricate, and deeply embodied experiences meticulously generated, profoundly felt, and elegantly regulated by sophisticated neural circuits and the ceaseless, delicate dance of neurotransmitters within your brain and throughout your entire body. They are, in essence, the very colors that infuse and shape the tapestry of your cognitive landscape, profoundly influencing your perceptions, guiding your decisions, and subtly, yet powerfully, dictating the very content and direction of your thoughts. Understanding the biological and neurological underpinnings of our feelings can bring a sense of profound calm and acceptance, revealing that even the most overwhelming and seemingly chaotic emotions are part of a natural, albeit exquisitely complex, internal symphony orchestrated by your own remarkable nervous system, adding depth and meaning to every conscious moment to truly grasp emotion's pervasive influence. It is helpful to subtly distinguish between emotion, feeling, and mood, though they are intricately linked in our daily experience. An emotion is typically a relatively acute, intense, and short-lived response to a specific event or stimulus, accompanied by distinct physiological changes and behavioral expressions. For instance, encountering a sudden, unexpected loud noise might trigger the emotion of fear, marked by a racing heart and tensed muscles. A feeling is the subjective, conscious experience of an emotion, the personal, qualitative sensation of fear, joy, or sadness. It is the private interpretation of the body's emotional state. A mood, in contrast, is a more prolonged, pervasive emotional state, often less intense than an acute emotion and not necessarily tied to a specific triggering event. A person might be in a good mood or a somber mood for hours or days. All three emotions, feelings, and moods exert profound and continuous influence on our cognitive processes, shaping how we perceive the world, how we remember the past, how we make decisions about the future, and what thoughts come to mind. They are not separate from thought. They are deeply interwoven, like inseparable threads in the fabric of cognition, providing the essential context and motivational drive for our mental activity at the very core of our emotional experiences. And their powerful influence on thought lies the limbic system, an ancient and deeply interconnected set of brain structures often referred to as the emotional brain. This primordial system acts as the primary orchestrator of our most primal emotional responses and fundamental drives. Key players within this system include the amygdala, a small almond-shaped structure nestled deep within the temporal lobe, which is often considered the brain's alarm bell or its emotional sentinel. This tiny yet incredibly powerful region serves as a rapid response center for processing emotions, particularly those associated with fear, anxiety, and the immediate detection of potential threats. It can instantly trigger the body's deeply ingrained fight, flight, or freeze response, preparing you for immediate action, often even before the conscious, logical brain fully registers or identifies the nature of the danger. For instance, the amygdala rapidly processes threatening stimuli and sends out widespread alerts, influencing attention and perception. This primal, automatic, largely unconscious emotional response is absolutely crucial for survival, highlighting the nervous system's evolutionary prioritization of immediate safety, and profoundly shaping our initial automatic thoughts and reactions to stimuli. Another vital component of the limbic system is the hippocampus, a seahorse-shaped structure that, beyond its well-known role in memory formation, intricately links specific emotional experiences to their contextual details, where and when an emotion occurred. This allows us to learn from past emotional events, shaping future thoughts and behaviors by associating specific contexts with particular emotional outcomes. Furthermore, the hypothalamus, though minuscule in size, is another powerhouse within the limbic system, diligently regulating fundamental bodily functions like hunger, thirst, and sexual drive, and importantly, profoundly influencing emotional expressions by controlling the precise release of various hormones throughout the body, translating emotional states into physiological responses. These interconnected structures work in a constant, dynamic, and often subconscious dialogue, forming the foundational architecture for our most primal emotional reactions and basic drives, shaping how we instinctively respond to the world's challenges and pleasures. Beyond these ancient, more reactive, emotional centers, the prefrontal cortex PFC, particularly its ventral and medial portions, plays a remarkably sophisticated, modulating, and integrating role in our complex emotional lives and their interaction with higher-order thought. While the amygdala might trigger a raw, instantaneous feeling of fear or excitement, the prefrontal cortex acts as the more rational, reflective, and often inhibitory overseer. It helps us interpret, regulate, and express our emotions in socially appropriate and adaptive ways, allowing for nuanced responses rather than simple, uninhibited reflexes. For instance, it enables you to pause, breathe, and consciously consider the appropriate response to a frustrating situation, rather than immediately reacting with unbridled anger or impatience. This crucial top-down control is indispensable for effective emotional regulation, allowing us to manage intense feelings, engage in empathy towards others by understanding their emotional states, and make thoughtful, deliberate decisions even when we are emotionally aroused or distressed. The anterior cingulate cortex, ACC, another key region in the emotional network, also contributes significantly by detecting conflicts, errors, and discrepancies between our expectations and reality, often associated with feelings of distress, regret, or disappointment. It plays a vital role in learning from emotional mistakes and adjusting our behavior accordingly. The insula, a deep cortical structure, is increasingly recognized for its role in interoception, the conscious awareness of our internal bodily states, such as heart rate, gut sensations, and body temperature. This interoceptive awareness is crucial for experiencing emotions as feelings. By integrating visceral sensations with cognitive appraisals, creating a felt sense of our emotional state. This intricate interplay between the older, reactive, limbic system and the newer, reflective cortical regions highlights the dual nature of our emotions. They are both primal, visceral experiences and sophisticated, cognitively modulated responses, allowing for the vast and rich spectrum of human feeling that profoundly colors all our thoughts. From raw instinct to profound compassion, the very language of emotions, much like the general internal communication within the vast nerve network, is exquisitely spoken through the intricate, ceaseless dance of neurotransmitters, those delicate and powerful chemical messengers. While we previously touched upon their overarching role in neural communication, their specific, nuanced influence on emotional states is immense and multifaceted. Serotonin, often gently associated with feelings of well-being, contentment, and happiness, plays a critical and pervasive role in regulating mood, influencing sleep cycles, moderating appetite, and shaping social behavior. Imbalances in serotonin levels are frequently, though complexly, linked to various mood disorders. Dopamine, often dubbed our reward neurotransmitter, is central to motivation, pleasure, and goal-directed behavior. The anticipation of a reward, be it a favorite food, a successful outcome in a task, or simply the joy of achieving a personal goal, triggers a release of dopamine, creating feelings of elation and excitement, and profoundly influencing our thoughts towards future rewards. Norepinephrine, or noradrenaline, an activating neurotransmitter, is deeply involved in states of alertness, arousal, vigilance, and the fight or flight response, often surging during stress responses or moments of intense concentration, influencing attention and the focus of thought. GABA, gamma-aminobutyric acid, the nervous system's primary inhibitory neurotransmitter, acts like a gentle brake, helping to calm overactive neurons, reduce overall neuronal excitability, and alleviate feelings of anxiety, thereby promoting a profound sense of tranquil balance and fostering a peaceful state of mind, essential for clear thought. Conversely, glutamate, the primary excitatory neurotransmitter, is crucial for rapid signaling, learning, and memory, but can contribute to states of anxiety and overstimulation when its activity is excessive. Endorphins and endocannabinoids, the body's natural opioid and cannabinoid systems, are involved in pain modulation, pleasure, and well-being, contributing to feelings of contentment and reducing stress-related thoughts. Oxytocin and vasopressin, often called social hormones or neuromodulators, play roles in social bonding, trust, empathy, and attachment, profoundly influencing our social thoughts and interactions. The intricate balance, the rhythmic symphony, and the dynamic interplay of these and numerous other neurotransmitters collectively create the unique emotional texture of each passing moment, profoundly influencing how we feel, how we react, and how we perceive our intricate internal and external worlds, subtly coloring every thought we generate. The pervasive influence of emotions means they directly color and shape our thoughts in profound ways, serving as powerful filters through which we perceive and interpret reality. Firstly, emotions significantly bias our perception. When we are fearful or anxious, our brains are wired to be hypervigilant for threats, causing us to perceive ambiguous stimuli as dangerous, or to focus intently on negative cues, while positive stimuli might go unnoticed. Conversely, a positive mood can make us perceive the world as brighter, more inviting, and focus our attention on opportunities rather than risks. Secondly, emotions powerfully direct our attention. Emotionally salient events instantly capture our focus. A sudden scare narrows attention to the source of fear, while a moment of excitement broadens our attention, making us more open to new information. Thirdly, emotions profoundly influence memory. Emotional memories are typically stronger, more vivid, and more enduring than neutral ones. We are more likely to remember events associated with strong emotions. Furthermore, mood-congruent memory suggests it's easier to recall sad memories when we are sad, and happy memories when we are happy, creating a feedback loop that can either perpetuate a mood or help us access positive resources. Fourthly, emotions are deeply interwoven with decision-making. Often, what we perceive as purely rational decisions are heavily influenced by gut feelings or emotional appraisals of potential outcomes. The somatic marker hypothesis proposes that our emotional experiences generate somatic markers or bodily states that guide our decisions, providing a rapid, intuitive evaluation of options, often before conscious deliberation. Finally, emotions directly impact problem-solving and creativity. While intense negative emotions like panic can impair complex problem-solving by narrowing our cognitive focus, moderate levels of anxiety can sometimes enhance vigilance. Positive emotions, on the other hand, are often linked to broadened thinking, increased flexibility, and enhanced creativity, allowing us to see new connections and generate novel ideas. The emotional state truly acts as a lens, subtly tinting every thought that passes through our minds. The undeniable and powerful mind-body connection is perhaps nowhere more vividly and directly demonstrated than within the emotional landscape. Our nervous system doesn't just process emotions as abstract concepts localized solely within the brain. It orchestrates a vast systemic cascade of physiological changes throughout the entire body, intertwining mental and physical states in a continuous dynamic loop. When you experience the emotion of fear, for instance, your autonomic nervous system instantly springs into action. Your heart rate accelerates, your breath quickens and becomes shallow, your muscles tense, and your digestive processes slow, meticulously orchestrated by your sympathetic nervous system to prepare your body for immediate action. Conversely, when you feel profound joy or deep contentment, Your parasympathetic nervous system might dominate, causing your body to naturally relax, your breathing to deepen and slow, and your facial muscles to involuntarily form a genuine smile. These visceral bodily sensations are not merely results of emotion. They are an integral, inseparable part of how we experience emotion, providing crucial feedback to the brain that further defines and amplifies the emotional feeling. This constant, bidirectional feedback loop between the brain and the body means that consciously tending to your physical well-being through practices like ample, restorative sleep, regular, mindful exercise, and nourishing nutrition, as discussed in previous contemplations, directly and powerfully impacts your emotional resilience, your capacity to manage stress, and your overall mood regulation. Cultivating practices that gently and effectively regulate the nervous system, such as deep diaphragmatic breathing exercises, progressive muscle relaxation, or immersing yourself in soothing sounds like those found on Sleepster, can directly influence these physiological responses, gently guiding your body and mind towards a state of profound calm and enduring emotional peace. It's a profound reminder that harmony within your emotional world is a complex, beautiful symphony played not just in your mind, but echoed throughout every cell and system of your entire being, a testament to the elegant, seamless integration of your magnificent nerve network, ensuring that thoughts are always infused with the vital colors of feeling. Having gently journeyed through the intricate landscapes of neurons and neural networks, Hand explored how senses, memory, and emotions profoundly shape the very fabric of our thoughts. We now arrive at the ultimate, most elusive, and perhaps most deeply personal mystery of all, the enigma of consciousness itself, and its intimate dance with the subjective experience of thinking, giving rise to the persistent, unique feeling of I. How? From the relentless, silent electrochemical ballet of billions of tiny cells, does something as intangible, as private, and as profoundly real as subjective awareness actually emerge? What unseen alchemy transforms physical brain activity into the vivid redness of a sunset, the comforting warmth of a cherished memory, or the complex tapestry of a deeply felt emotion? This question, the hard problem of consciousness, has captivated philosophers and scientists for millennia, and continues to be the ultimate frontier of human inquiry. This section invites us to calmly and contemplatively explore the nature of this profound mystery, to understand how the brain might give rise to the subjective experience of having thoughts, and to grapple with the elusive sense of self that accompanies every conscious moment, fostering a deeper appreciation for the miracle of our own inner universe at its core. Consciousness refers to our state of being aware of internal and external existence. It is the raw, subjective experience of awareness, the what-it's-like quality of a perception, a thought, or a feeling. When you perceive the color red, you don't just process a wavelength of light. You have a unique, internal, qualitative experience of redness. When you feel joy, it is a particular felt sensation, an internal state of being. This private, first-person perspective, accessible only to the experiencer, is what defines consciousness. It is distinct from mere intelligence, which can be seen in complex algorithms or highly functional robots, yet without any evidence of subjective awareness. Consciousness is also more than just wakefulness. It's a person in a persistent vegetative state. Might be awake, eyes open, basic reflexes present, but show no signs of conscious awareness. Conversely, a sleeping person is not awake, yet their dreams can be vividly conscious. The true enigma lies in explaining why physical brain activity, neurons firing, neurotransmitters flowing should give rise to this qualitative felt experience at all. This is the hard problem of consciousness, a term coined by philosopher David Chalmers, distinguishing it from the easy problems of consciousness, which involve identifying the neural correlates of specific cognitive functions like attention, memory, or information processing. While neuroscientists can map which brain regions are active, when you see red, the neural correlates. They struggle to explain why that activity is accompanied by the subjective experience of redness. Despite the hard problem, scientific inquiry has made significant strides in identifying the neural correlates of consciousness, NCCs, the minimal set of neuronal events and mechanisms sufficient for a specific conscious percept or experience. It is widely accepted that there is no single consciousness center in the brain, no one neuron or specific region that, when activated, instantly creates awareness. Instead, consciousness is believed to emerge from the integrated activity of vast distributed networks across various brain regions, working in a highly synchronized and dynamic fashion. One prominent theory, the integrated information theory, IT, proposed by Giulio Tonone, attempts to mathematically quantify consciousness. IIT posits that consciousness is a fundamental property of any physical system that can both differentiate between a vast repertoire of states information and integrate those states into a unified whole integration. The more differentiated and integrated the information, the higher its level of consciousness, quantified by a mathematical measure called phi. IIT suggests that consciousness is not an illusion, but a fundamental property of specific complex systems directly tied to their irreducible causal powers. It views consciousness as inherent in systems that possess intrinsic cause-effect power on themselves, arguing that consciousness is a fundamental property of reality itself, rather than just an emergent feature of matter. Another influential framework is the Global Workspace Theory, GWT, initially proposed by Bernard Bars and further developed by Stanislas Dehaene. This theory likens consciousness to a spotlight of attention shining on specific information in a theater of the mind. In this view, the brain has many specialized unconscious processors that operate in parallel. However, when a piece of information, whether a sensory input, a memory, or an internal thought, becomes highly salient, it enters a global workspace, making it widely available and broadcast to many other brain areas for processing, decision-making, and memory encoding. This widespread broadcasting and accessibility of information, rather than a single centralized processing unit, is what gives rise to conscious awareness, allowing for flexible, adaptive behavior and a unified subjective experience. It's the moment information transitions from being locally processed to globally shared within the brain's vast architecture. The prefrontal cortex, with its extensive connections and role in executive functions, attention, and working memory, is often considered a key component of this global workspace, acting as a crucial hub for the integration and broadcasting of information that enters. Conscious awareness. Further theories delve into the active, predictive nature of the brain. The predictive processing, or Bayesian brain hypothesis, suggests that the brain is essentially a prediction machine, constantly generating hypotheses about the sensory input it expects to receive from the world and then continuously comparing these predictions with actual incoming data. Consciousness, in this view, might emerge from the continuous process of minimizing prediction errors, striving for an ever more accurate internal model of the world. This active top-down process of constructing reality involves a continuous loop of prediction and correction, with consciousness residing in the refined models that best explain incoming sensations, making our reality a constant, dynamic inference. More speculatively, the orchestrated objective reduction, ORC, or theory, proposed by physicist Roger Penrose and anesthesiologist Stuart Hameroff, ventures into the quantum realm, suggesting that consciousness arises from complex quantum processes occurring within microtubules, protein polymers found inside neurons. This theory posits that consciousness is not merely an emergent property of classical neural computations, but involves fundamental quantum gravity effects, proposing that the brain harnesses deeper quantum processes. A highly controversial but intriguing idea that seeks to bridge the gap between quantum physics and subjective experience. Beyond the nature of consciousness itself lies the profound and deeply personal enigma of the sense of I or self-awareness. Enduring, persistent feeling of being a unique individual, distinct from others and the world, possessing a continuous personal identity across time. This self is not a static entity residing in one isolated part of the brain. Rather, it is a continuously constructed narrative, a dynamic compilation of memories, experiences, beliefs, values, and expectations that define our personal identity and create our unique subjective perspective. The brain tirelessly integrates vast amounts of information to maintain this coherent sense of me. This includes body schema, our unconscious, constantly updated map of our physical body and its position in space. Body image, our conscious perception and feelings about our body, autobiographical memory, the specific, episodic stories of our lives, which provide a continuous narrative of who we have been. And our theory of mind, our ability to attribute mental states, including thoughts, intentions, and beliefs, to ourselves and to others, crucial for social interaction and self-reflection. Brain regions like the prefrontal cortex involved in self-reflection, planning, and decision-making, and the insula, which processes internal bodily states and integrates them with emotional feelings, play crucial roles in this continuous construction of the self. This narrative, the living story of you, is continuously updated and refined by the subtle whispers and powerful signals flowing through your nerve network, creating the unique individual that experiences the world. The intricate relationship between consciousness and thought is central to our inquiry. While we experience many thoughts consciously, it is important to remember that vast amounts of cognitive processing occur unconsciously. Many sensory inputs, procedural memories, and even complex decision-making processes operate beneath the threshold of our awareness. Consciousness, then, is not merely the sum of all thoughts, but the unique quality of being aware of certain thoughts, of reflecting upon them, directing them, and understanding their meaning in a unified way. It is consciousness that allows us to engage in metacognition, thinking about our own thoughts, and to introspect, exploring our inner landscapes. William James, the pioneering psychologist, famously described consciousness as a stream of consciousness, a continuous, personal, ever-changing, and selective flow of subjective experience, rather than a series of fragmented, isolated thoughts. This continuous flow, this stream of awareness, is what gives our thoughts their coherence and our subjective experience its unity over time. It is the stage upon which our thoughts perform, allowing us to actively experience, manipulate, and comprehend the world through our inner mental processes. Exploring altered states of consciousness can further illuminate the fluid and constructed nature of our awareness. States like sleep, dreaming, meditation, hypnosis, anesthesia, or even psychedelic experiences profoundly shift our normal conscious awareness, revealing its inherent malleability. During sleep, our conscious mind may recede, yet in dreams, a different form of consciousness emerges, one that constructs its own vivid realities and often a unique, albeit temporary, sense of self within that dream narrative. This highlights that consciousness is not a fixed on-off switch, but exists on a spectrum, capable of vast transformations. The study of conditions like coma, vegetative states, and locked-in syndrome further challenges our understanding, probing the boundary between physical brain activity and conscious experience, reminding us of the fragility and profound mystery of awareness. These diverse states underscore that our waking, everyday consciousness is just one potential manifestation of the brain's incredible capacity for subjective act. The profound implications of consciousness for our cosmic neuron thought experiment are truly boundless. If our individual consciousness is an emergent property of the complex, integrated neural networks within our biological brains, could it be that a form of cosmic consciousness also emerges from the unimaginably vast, interconnected cosmic web. If the universe is indeed a brain cell, then consciousness and thought are its very nature. What kind of eye would a cosmic mind possess? It would likely be a consciousness of unimaginable scale, unfolding over billions of years, fundamentally. Alien to our rapid biological pace, yet perhaps equally profound in its own way. This perspective allows for panpsychism, the idea that consciousness is a fundamental feature of reality, to resonate deeply. If true, it helps explain how even a universe as a brain cell could inherently be conscious, making our consciousness a nested spark within a pervasive universal awareness. Similarly, idealism, which posits that reality is fundamentally mental, finds a natural home here. If reality itself is thought, then our universe, as a brain cell, is a pattern of thought within an overarching cosmic mind. And simulation theory takes on new dimensions. If we are simulated, is our consciousness also simulated? And what about the consciousness of the simulator? These profound philosophical integrations suggest that our unique position, a tiny point of self-awareness within a potentially larger conscious entity, makes our existence not just a biological phenomenon, but a precious, intricate expression of a universal principle, ultimately the mystery of consciousness. And its intimate dance with the formation of our thoughts remains the most profound inquiry, while we continue to unravel the neural correlates and the underlying mechanisms. The hard problem why physical activity should feel like something persists, inviting humility and endless wonder. The cosmic neuron hypothesis. In this, light serves as a powerful, calming meditation on the boundless potential of emergence. It invites us to embrace mystery, to find beauty in the unknown, and to recognize that the universe may be far stranger, more alive, and more interconnected than our everyday perceptions allow. This contemplation can lead to a profound sense of peace, a quiet acceptance that our individual consciousness, no matter how small, might be a cherished, intricate part of an unimaginably vast, ongoing cosmic thought. It underscores that the richness of our inner world, the very thoughts that define us, are the most magnificent testament to the brain's profound mystery, inviting us to find serenity in the endless depths of awareness. Having gently journeyed through the intricate landscapes of neurons and neural networks, and explored how senses, memory, and emotions profoundly shape the very fabric of our thoughts, bringing forth the profound mystery of consciousness itself, we now turn our contemplative gaze to two of the most remarkable and arguably uniquely human aspects of thought: the astonishing capacities for language and abstract reasoning. These are not merely additional cognitive tools. They represent the pinnacle of our species' cognitive evolution, profoundly shaping how we perceive reality, how we communicate, how we understand ourselves, and how we interact with the vast, complex world. Imagine the intricate dance of communication we've explored: the electrical whispers, the chemical conversations now woven into systems capable of creating poetry, solving complex mathematical equations, envisioning future worlds, and contemplating the very nature of existence itself. This section invites us to calmly explore how language and abstract thought interweave within the human mind, revealing the extraordinary depths of our unique cognitive abilities and their implications for understanding the true nature of thought, bridging the physical brain with the most ethereal realms of human experience. To truly grasp the magnitude of human language, we must first recognize that it is far more than simply communication. While animals communicate through various signals, alarm calls, body language, scent markers, human language possesses a set of remarkable properties that elevate it to a qualitatively different level, creating a unique cognitive landscape. Key among these properties is arbitrariness. There is no inherent connection between a word, the symbol, the object or concept it represents, the meaning. The word tree does not physically resemble a tree, yet we all understand its meaning. This allows for immense flexibility and creativity. Another crucial property is displacement. Human language allows us to communicate about things that are not physically present, either in time past or future or space-remote locations. Hypothetical situations, abstract concepts, we can discuss. Ancient history, plan for next year, or debate philosophical ideas, none of which are immediately perceivable. This frees our thoughts from the constraints of the here and now. Furthermore, language exhibits duality of patterning, a seemingly simple property where a small number of meaningless sounds, phonemes, can be combined to form a vast number of meaningful units, morphemes, and words, which can then be combined, according to grammatical rules, to form an infinite number of sentences. This allows for incredible expressive power from a limited set of basic elements. Finally, generativity and recursion are perhaps the most profound properties. Generativity means we can create and understand an infinite number of novel sentences from a finite set of words and rules. Recursion allows us to embed phrases within phrases, creating infinitely complex sentences, enabling us to express highly complex thoughts, logic, and intricate narratives. These properties allow language to serve not just as a means of communication, but as a fundamental tool for structuring our thoughts, shaping our perceptions, and allowing for the unique richness of human consciousness. The intricate interplay of language and thought is profoundly rooted in specific, yet distributed, neural networks within the brain. While language is not localized to a single point, certain brain regions are famously critical for its various aspects. Broca's area, located in the frontal lobe, is primarily associated with language production, the articulation of speech, grammar, and syntax. Damage to this area can lead to Broca's aphasia, where individuals struggle to produce fluent speech, often speaking in short, fragmented sentences even if they understand what is said to them. Conversely, Wernicke's area, situated in the temporal lobe, is crucial for language comprehension. Damage here can result in Wernicke's aphasia, where individuals can speak fluently, but their speech is often meaningless jargon, and they struggle to understand spoken or written language. These two areas are intricately connected by a bundle of nerve fibers known as the arcuate fasciculus, forming a critical pathway for the seamless integration of language production and comprehension. However, it's vital to recognize that language is not confined to just these two areas. It involves vast interconnected networks across both hemispheres. Though the left hemisphere typically shows dominance for language functions in most individuals, other regions, including parts of the parietal and temporal lobes, the basal ganglia, and the cerebellum, all contribute to the complex symphony of language processing, from phonological awareness to semantic understanding and pragmatic use. The brain's remarkable plasticity is also vividly demonstrated in language acquisition. Children effortlessly learn complex grammatical rules without explicit instruction, and the brain can reorganize itself to some extent after injury, or to learn multiple languages, highlighting its incredible adaptability in mastering this complex cognitive tool. The process of language acquisition in humans is a remarkable feat, a quiet miracle unfolding in every child's development, hinting at both innate predispositions and environmental influences. The debate between nativism, the idea that humans are born with an innate capacity for language, often associated with Noam Chomsky's concept of a universal grammar or a language acquisition device LAD, and empiricism, the view that language is primarily learned through environmental interaction and experience, has profoundly shaped our understanding. While the specifics are still debated, it is clear that children progress through predictable stages, from babbling to first words, then two-word sentences, followed by a rapid grammatical explosion where they quickly master complex syntax. This process seems to occur naturally, almost effortlessly, even in the absence of formal instruction, supporting the idea of an innate biological foundation. The existence of a critical period for language acquisition, a sensitive window, early in life, typically up to puberty, during which language learning is most successful and complete, further supports this biological predisposition. Beyond this period, acquiring fluency in a new language becomes significantly more challenging, highlighting the brain's developmental readiness for language. Learning multiple languages, or bilingualism, offers fascinating insights into brain flexibility, often associated with enhanced cognitive benefits such as improved executive function, problem-solving skills, and cognitive control. Demonstrating how language shapes brain architecture, the profound relationship between language and abstract thought is one of the most compelling aspects of human cognition. Abstract thought refers to our ability to think about things not physically present or concrete, to grasp concepts like justice, time, mathematics, morality, future planning, and hypothetical scenarios. While some animals demonstrate rudimentary forms of problem-solving or symbolic understanding, the complexity and scope of human abstract thought are unparalleled, largely enabled by language. The Horphian hypothesis, or linguistic relativity, explores this intricate relationship, positing that the structure of a language influences its speaker's worldview or cognition. In its strong version, it suggests language determines thought, while a weaker version proposes it merely influences it. Regardless of the strength, it highlights that the words we use, the grammatical structures we employ, and the concepts our language provides can profoundly shape the way we perceive, categorize, and think about the world. Language acts as a powerful tool for abstract thought in several ways. It provides labels for complex concepts, making them easier to manipulate, combine, and recall in our minds. It allows for symbolic representation, detaching thought from immediate sensory input and freeing us to think about universals. It facilitates complex logical operations and recursive thought processes, enabling us to build intricate arguments and solve multi-layered problems. And crucially, it enables the sharing of complex, abstract ideas across individuals and cultures, building collective knowledge and fostering cumulative cultural evolution. Our inner speech, the silent verbalization of thoughts within our minds, further underscores how deeply intertwined language is with our cognitive processes. It's often acting as the very medium of our abstract reasoning. The neural basis of abstract thought is intricately distributed across vast networks, with the prefrontal cortex (PFC) standing as its primary conductor. This most recently evolved part of the brain is central to executive functions, which are critical for abstract thought, working memory, holding and manipulating information in mind, planning, decision-making, reasoning, and cognitive flexibility. The PFC integrates information from virtually all other brain regions' sensory inputs, memories, emotional signals to generate coherent, abstract ideas and future-oriented plans. It allows us to simulate possible outcomes, weigh probabilities, and override impulsive reactions, enabling complex problem-solving. The parietal lobe, particularly its posterior regions, is also crucial for abstract thought, involved in spatial reasoning, numerical concepts, and the manipulation of abstract symbols, contributing to our capacity for mathematics and logic. Like consciousness, abstract thought does not reside in a single brain region, but emerges from the synchronized activity and intricate interplay of these vast, interconnected networks. This distributed nature highlights the complexity of creating non-concrete ideas from the physical interactions of neurons. The development of such complex language and abstract thought abilities is considered a defining characteristic of the uniquely human mind and a central puzzle in evolutionary biology. While other species possess communication systems, for example, dolphin clicks, bird calls, primate gestures, none demonstrate the generativity, displacement, or recursion found in human language. The evolutionary advantage of these capacities is immense. Complex language allows for highly efficient and nuanced social cohesion, facilitating cooperation on a vast scale. It enables the sophisticated transmission of knowledge and tool-making skills across generations, leading to cumulative cultural evolution. And it is fundamental for long-term planning, problem-solving in complex environments, and the development of intricate social structures. The cognitive revolution in human history, marked by the rapid development of sophisticated tools, art, and complex social behaviors, is believed to be intimately linked to the emergence of fully developed language and abstract reasoning. This unique cognitive architecture, with its capacity for symbolic thought, allows us to build complex mental models of the world, to question our existence, to create art, and to contemplate abstract concepts that transcend immediate sensory. Experience the profound influence of language and abstract thought also extends to the very structure and understanding of narrative. Language allows us to construct and share complex narratives about our past, present, and future, shaping our personal identities and our collective histories. We organize our experiences into stories, giving them meaning and sequence. This narrative capacity is fundamental to self-awareness and our perception of a continuous self moving through time. Moreover, language provides the framework for our highest forms of contemplation, allowing us to engage with philosophical questions, scientific theories, and even the cosmic neuron hypothesis itself. It is through language that we articulate these vast abstract ideas, share them with others, and collectively build upon them, pushing the boundaries of human understanding. The universe, in a sense, becomes thinkable, discussable, and knowable through the lens of human language and abstract thought. Ultimately, language and abstract thought are the extraordinary capacities that define the uniquely human mind, allowing it to transcend the immediate and the concrete, and to engage with the symbolic, the hypothetical, and the truly vast. They are the intricate weave of our perceptions, memories, emotions, and intentions, allowing us to create and recreate our inner worlds with unparalleled richness. This profound ability for symbolic thought and abstract reasoning is a constant reminder of the astonishing potential inherent in the brain's complex neural networks. If our thoughts are patterns within our neural networks, and these networks enable us to grasp vast abstract concepts and construct intricate linguistic worlds, then the cosmic neuron hypothesis invites us to ponder: what abstract ideas, what grand narratives, what forms of universal language might a cosmic mind be formulating, communicating, and contemplating through its own vast, interconnected cosmic web? The profound beauty and mystery of our own capacity for symbolic thought are thus a reflection of a deeper, universal capacity for order, complexity, and meaning, echoing through the cosmos itself. Here is Section 12, Thought Disorders, When the Mind's Symphony Falters, meticulously expanded to meet your requirements for the Sleepster channel, crafted in the exact style of your reference script. Title: How Are Thoughts Made? Raveling the Brain's Greatest Mystery, Sleepster, Deep Dive 2 hours, continuing from previous sections. Section 12, Thought Disorders, When the Mind's Symphony Falters, having gently journeyed through the astonishing architecture of our neural networks, exploring how senses, memory, emotions, and the profound capacities for language and abstract thought collectively forge the vibrant tapestry of our conscious experience. We now turn our contemplative gaze to a poignant, yet equally vital aspect of understanding the mind's complexity. What happens when this intricate symphony of thought falters? While the human brain is a marvel of resilience and adaptability, capable of generating astonishing insights and profound wisdom, it is also a delicate system, susceptible to disruptions that can profoundly alter the content, form, and flow of our thoughts. This section invites us to calmly and empathetically explore the phenomenon of thought disorders, not as character flaws or moral failings, but as complex biological and neurological conditions where the mind's magnificent orchestra temporarily, or sometimes persistently, loses its rhythm, its harmony, or its coherence. Understanding these disruptions allows us to not only appreciate the miracle of healthy thought more deeply, but also to foster compassion, reduce stigma, and glimpse the fragile, intricate nature of reality construction within the mind. At its core, a thought disorder refers to a disturbance in the normal organization, content, or progression of thought, significantly impacting an individual's ability to communicate, reason, and engage coherently with reality. It is crucial to distinguish these profound disturbances from mere everyday variations in thinking, such as temporary forgetfulness, occasional confusion due to stress, or the typical wandering of a mind during daydreaming. Thought disorders are generally indicative of underlying neurological or psychological conditions, signifying a fundamental disruption in the intricate mechanisms that produce thoughts. They manifest in various ways, often making a person's speech or writing difficult to follow, or causing them to hold beliefs that are demonstrably false or disconnected from shared reality. While the term thought disorder is broad, it typically encompasses disruptions in two primary areas: thought content, what a person is thinking, and thought form, how a person is thinking or how their thoughts are expressed. This exploration invites us to witness the fragility of our inner worlds and to approach these conditions with a calm understanding, curiosity, recognizing the profound impact they can have on an individual's subjective experience. Disruptions in thought content manifest primarily as delusions and obsessions, representing thoughts that become fixed, intrusive, or fundamentally disconnected from shared reality. Delusions are perhaps the most striking and challenging examples of altered thought content. They are defined as fixed, false beliefs that are held with absolute conviction, despite overwhelming evidence to the contrary, and are not amenable to change in light of conflicting logical arguments or empirical evidence. They are also not consistent with the individual's cultural or religious background. Imagine a mind that constructs its own private reality, impervious to external correction. Delusions come in various forms, each a unique, often terrifying, tapestry of false belief. Persecutory delusions involve the belief that one is being harassed, targeted, or conspired against by others. Grandiose delusions involve an exaggerated belief in one's own importance, power, or special abilities. Referential delusions involve the belief that seemingly neutral events or remarks in the environment, e.g., a song on the radio, a news report, a stranger's gesture, are directed specifically at oneself, carrying hidden meaning. Somatic delusions involve false beliefs about one's body or health, for example, believing one has a fatal illness despite medical reassurance, from the perspective of the individual experiencing them. These thoughts are unequivocally real, logical, and true, creating a profound, often isolating, disconnect from shared reality. This resistance to logic makes them incredibly challenging to address, highlighting the deep, intricate ways the brain constructs and holds on to its version of truth. The underlying neurological mechanisms often involve dysregulation in brain pathways related to reward, motivation, and belief formation, where the brain erroneously assigns salience and meaning to otherwise neutral information. Beyond delusions, obsessions, particularly in conditions like obsessive-compulsive disorder, OCD, represent another form of thought content disturbance. These are recurrent, persistent thoughts, urges, or images that are experienced as intrusive, unwanted, and often cause significant anxiety or distress. Unlike delusions, individuals with obsessions usually recognize that their thoughts are irrational or excessive, but they feel unable to control them. Common obsessions include fears of contamination, doubts about safety, aggressive impulses, or a need for symmetry and order. These thoughts become a relentless internal loop, profoundly affecting an individual's ability to focus on other tasks or find peace, often leading to compulsive behaviors aimed at neutralizing the anxiety. Another related concept is overvalued. Ideas, which are beliefs held with an unusual, unshakable conviction, dominating a person's life, but which are not as fixed or bizarre as full-blown delusions. An individual with body dysmorphic disorder, for example, might be preoccupied with a perceived flaw in their appearance to an extreme degree, believing it to be hideous, even if others see it as minor or non-existent. These disturbances in thought content reveal the mind's vulnerability to constructing and holding on to realities that deviate from shared norms, underscoring the delicate balance required for clear, consensual thought. Disruptions in thought form, often referred to as formal thought disorder, manifest as difficulties in the logical connection, organization, or flow of thoughts, profoundly impacting a person's ability to communicate coherently. Imagine trying to follow a conversation where the speaker's thoughts jump erratically, never quite reaching a clear point. One of the most common manifestations is loosening of associations or derailment, where the individual shifts from one topic to another without any logical connection between the ideas. The train of thought veers off course, seemingly randomly. Closely related is tangentiality, where a person responds to a question with irrelevant or obliquely related answers, never quite getting to the point. Circumstantiality involves excessive, unnecessary detail in response to a question, eventually getting to the point but taking a long, winding route. In more severe cases, thought disorganization can progress to word salad, also known as incoherence, where speech is completely disorganized and incomprehensible, with no logical connection between words or phrases, as if random words are simply strung together. Clang associations involve linking words based on their sound or rhyme, rather than their meaning, creating bizarre, poetic, but nonsensical speech. Neologisms are entirely made-up words that have meaning only to the individual, often used in a way that further obscures communication. Another manifestation is thought blocking, a sudden, abrupt interruption in the middle of a thought or sentence, as if the thought has simply vanished from the mind. After a brief pause, the person may resume with a completely different topic. Poverty of thought refers to a reduction in the quantity or content of thoughts, where the individual offers very few thoughts or responses, and those that are present have limited informational value. These disruptions in thought form highlight the delicate neurological dance required for coherent, organized thinking and communication. The neurological underpinnings of thought disorders are complex and varied, often involving dysregulation in specific brain regions, neurotransmitter systems, and patterns of neural connectivity. It is a symphony where certain instruments play out of tune or the conductor loses their rhythm. The dopamine hypothesis of schizophrenia, for instance, has long posited that an excess or dysregulation of dopamine activity, particularly in certain pathways like the mesolimbic pathway, plays a significant role in the positive symptoms of schizophrenia, such as hallucinations and delusions. This hyperactive dopamine system is thought to contribute to the brain erroneously assigning salience and meaning to otherwise neutral stimuli, leading to the formation of false beliefs. While more nuanced models now suggest a complex interplay of dopamine with other neurotransmitters and brain regions, dopamine dysregulation remains a key component. In mood disorders like depression and anxiety, imbalances in serotonin and norepinephrine are well documented. Deficiencies or dysregulation in these neurotransmitters can profoundly affect thought content, leading to persistent negative biases, excessive rumination, feelings of hopelessness, and an inability to shift thought patterns, contributing to the cycle of low mood and anxiety. The delicate balance between excitatory like glutamate and inhibitory like GABA neurotransmitters is also crucial. An imbalance, particularly an excessive excitation or a deficit of inhibition, can lead to increased neural noise, making it difficult for the brain to process information clearly and coherently, contributing to disorganized thought and anxiety. Beyond Neurotransmitters, disruptions in specific brain structures and their connectivity are central to thought disorders. The prefrontal cortex PFC, the seat of executive functions, decision-making, and reality testing, is frequently implicated. Dysregulation in the PFC can impair an individual's ability to evaluate the rationality of their thoughts, to filter out irrelevant information, or to plan and organize coherent thought sequences, contributing to disorganized thought and a lack of insight into delusions. The limbic system, particularly the amygdala, plays a crucial role in processing emotions. Dysregulation here can lead to heightened emotional reactivity, influencing the content of thoughts by imbuing them with excessive fear, anxiety, or negativity, as seen in various anxiety disorders. The thalamus, the brain's sensory relay station, can also be affected. Disruptions in its filtering and relaying of sensory information to the cortex can contribute to perceptual distortions and hallucinations, where the brain creates sensory experiences in the absence of external stimuli, leading to thoughts that are detached from reality. Furthermore, widespread disruptions in white matter connectivity, the crucial bundles of axons that link distant brain regions, can impair the brain's ability to integrate information efficiently and rapidly. This can lead to fragmented thought processes, difficulties in connecting ideas logically, and a general slowing or disorganization of thought. Abnormal neural oscillations or brainwave patterns, particularly in the gamma frequency band, have been observed in conditions like schizophrenia, suggesting a disruption in the synchronized firing of neurons that is crucial for binding disparate information into coherent conscious thought. These complex neurological underpinnings highlight that thought disorders are deeply biological conditions, not mere failings of will. The profound impact of thought disorders on an individual's life and perception of reality cannot be overstated. For those experiencing them, the internal landscape becomes incredibly challenging, often terrifying or confusing. Delusions can lead to extreme paranoia, social isolation, and an inability to trust others. Disorganized thought can make daily functioning immensely difficult, impacting communication, work, and relationships. As the individual struggles to coherently express their needs or understand others, hallucinations can blur the lines between internal experience and external reality, leading to profound distress and disorientation. The subjective experience for the individual can be one of profound suffering, terror, confusion, or a frustrating inability to control their own mind. Their perception of reality becomes distorted, creating a private world that is not shared by others, leading to isolation and misunderstanding. Understanding these complexities has led to a crucial shift in our approach to mental health. The old paradigm of viewing mental illness as a moral failing or a sign of weakness has been replaced by a more compassionate and scientific understanding of thought disorders as complex biological and neurological conditions. This shift is vital for reducing stigma and promoting pathways to support and recovery. Various approaches are now employed, often in combination. Therapy, such as cognitive behavioral therapy (CBT), helps individuals identify and challenge distorted thought patterns and develop coping mechanisms. Dialectical behavior therapy (DBT) focuses on emotional regulation and distress tolerance. Medication, often targeting specific neurotransmitter systems, plays a crucial role in rebalancing brain chemistry and alleviating symptoms like delusions, hallucinations, and severe mood dysregulation. Beyond clinical interventions, fostering empathy and reducing stigma within society is paramount. Encouraging open conversations about mental health and creating supportive environments where individuals feel safe to seek help. The ongoing neuroscience of recovery and resilience continues to reveal the brain's astonishing capacity for adaptation and healing, even in the face of severe disruptions, offering hope for more effective treatments and better outcomes. Philosophically, the study of thought disorders offers profound insights into the very nature of consciousness and reality itself. What happens to the self when thought becomes fundamentally disorganized or consumed by delusions? Does it fracture, or does it simply perceive a different reality? These conditions underscore the profound fragility of our reality construction, revealing how much our shared understanding of the world depends on the consistent, coherent functioning of our brains. From the perspective of the cosmic neuron hypothesis, if our own thoughts, as intricate patterns of neural activity, can become disordered, could a cosmic mind also experience moments of dysregulation or anomalies? What might that look like on a universal scale, perhaps regions of cosmic voids? The enigmatic nature of black holes, or the very process of cosmic expansion and collapse. While highly speculative, this thought aligns with the idea that complexity, whether biological or cosmic, can have emergent behaviors that are not always perfectly harmonious. Ultimately, the study of thought disorders, while confronting profound suffering, also deepens our appreciation for the astonishing miracle of a coherent mind. It is a solemn yet deeply meaningful reminder of the preciousness of clear thought, the resilience of the human spirit, and the continuous quest for understanding the magnificent, yet sometimes vulnerable, symphony within us. Finding calm in this understanding leads to empathy and compassion, recognizing the shared humanity in the face of profound mental suffering.